3 days later, Jake sat in a chair that was too small for him, watching his patient sleep. The Coalition medical station was huge and white and cold. Everything beeped or hummed or flashed with lights. Jake missed the simple quiet of his old medical bay. Dr. Patricia Wong walked into the room, her footsteps loud on the metal floor. She was the chief doctor here, and she did not like Jake very much. She thought human medicine was old and useless compared to alien technology, the scanners. "Show her condition is stable," Dr. Wong said, looking at her tablet instead of at Jake. "But she should be healing faster. Our equipment is the best in the galaxy." Jake looked at his patient. Her name was Zarathes, he had learned. The Coalition computers had figured out who she was 2 days ago, and everyone had been acting strange around Jake ever since. Apparently, she was very important. The crystal cracks on her skin were healing, but slowly. Jake had been using his hands to check her pulse and temperature, just like he did with human patients. Every time he touched her, she seemed to get a little better. "Maybe your machines are too strong for her," Jake said quietly. Dr. Wong made a noise that sounded like she was choking. "Too strong? Our medical technology is precisely calibrated for over 300 different species." "But not hers," Jake pointed out. Before Dr. Wong could answer, Zarathes opened her silver eyes. She looked around the room until she found Jake. Then her whole body relaxed. She tried to sit up, and Jake was beside her in seconds. "Easy," he said, helping her lean against the pillows. "How do you feel?" Zarathes opened her mouth and made those clicking sounds. Then she stopped and frowned like she was thinking hard. Finally, she spoke in careful English. "I feel better. When you touch." Dr. Wong stepped forward with her scanner. "Your Majesty, if you would allow me to run a full diagnostic." Zarathes pulled back from the scanner like it was a snake. She shook her head and pointed at Jake. "Him. Only him." "But Your Majesty," Dr. Wong said, "Dr. Morrison is just a human field medic. He doesn't have training in Veltar physiology. Our equipment can heal you much faster." Zarathes looked confused. She turned to Jake and spoke slowly. "What is field medic?" Jake smiled. "It means I fix soldiers when they get hurt in battles. I don't have fancy equipment or big degrees. I just help people." "Help people," Zarathes repeated. She looked at Dr. Wong and then back at Jake. "You help. Others do not help?" Before Jake could answer, the door opened and a tall alien walked in. He looked like Zarathes, but his crystal skin was darker and he wore elaborate robes. Jake could tell he was important just by the way he moved. "Sister," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Kethvar. I have come to take you home." Zarathes sat up straighter. She and Kethvar had a quick conversation in their clicking language. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the tension in their voices. Kethvar sounded angry and Zarathes sounded stubborn. "My sister says she will not return until she is fully healed," Kethvar told Dr. Wong. "She insists on being treated by the human." Dr. Wong looked like she had eaten something sour. "Ambassador, I assure you, our medical technology is far superior to anything a human could provide." Kethvar translated for Zarathes. She listened, then spoke back to him with sharp clicking sounds. Kethvar's crystal face somehow managed to look surprised, she says. Kethvar told them slowly, "that your machines hurt her, but the human's touch makes the pain go away." Jake looked at his patient. "Zarathes, can you tell me where it hurts?" She pointed to her chest, where the crystal was cracked in a pattern that looked like lightning. "Inside, deep inside, always hurts. But when you touch, warm, safe." Jake put his hand gently on her shoulder, over the crystal. He could feel warmth under his palm, and her breathing became slower and calmer. "Like this?" "Yes," she whispered. "How do you do this?" Jake did not know how to explain it. "I just care about making you feel better, that's all." Dr. Wong was scanning them both with her equipment. "Interesting. Her neural activity is stabilizing. Heart rate is dropping to normal ranges. But how is simple physical contact achieving these results?" "Maybe because it's not just physical contact," Jake said. "Maybe she needs to trust the person helping her." Kethvar translated this for Zarathes. She nodded eagerly and spoke back to him. She says, Kethvar said, looking troubled, that, in all her years, no healer has ever made her feel safe. Our healers are skilled, but they are rough. They see her as a duty, not a person. Jake thought about this. What do you mean, rough? Kethvar hesitated. Veltar healing involves breaking, away damaged crystal and forcing new growth. It is painful but effective. Your sister has endured many such treatments. You break her bones to fix them? Jake asked, horrified. It is not the same as your human bones, Kethvar said. But, yes, the process is painful. Jake looked at Zarathes. No wonder you don't trust doctors. She understood enough English to nod. Hurt more, make worse. I won't hurt you, Jake promised. Human healing is different. We try to help the body fix itself. Over the next few hours, Jake learned more about Veltar biology. The crystal's skin was not just armor, it was connected to their nervous system. When it was damaged, they felt every crack like a broken nerve. The traditional healing method of breaking and regrowing crystal was like forcing someone to break. Their own bones over and over, Jake's gentle approach, checking the crystal carefully, using soft bandages, touching with warm hands instead of cold tools, was completely new to Zarathes. No one had ever treated her like she was fragile and precious instead of tough and unbreakable. Your Majesty, Dr. Wong said after running more scans, I have to admit that Dr. Morrison's methods are showing remarkable results. Your healing rate has increased by 30% since yesterday. Zarathes looked proud. She said something to Kethvar in their language. She says the human sees her as a person, not just a queen, Kethvar translated. She says his hands are kind. Jake felt his face get hot. I just treat everyone the same way I'd want to be treated. That, said a new voice from the doorway, is exactly why you're here. Everyone turned to see General Marcus Stone walking into the room. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. Jake had heard of him but never met him. Dr. Morrison, General Stone said, you've caused quite a stir. Queen Zarathes has officially requested that you be assigned as her personal physician. Do you accept? Jake looked at Zarathes. Her silver eyes were hopeful and scared at the same time. She had trusted him when she was dying, and now she was trusting him with something even more important, her recovery. If she wants me to help her, Jake said, then yes, I accept. Zarathes smiled for the first time since he had met her. It transformed her whole face, making the crystal skin sparkle like diamonds. She reached out and took his hand, squeezing his fingers gently. Thank you, she said in English. Thank you for seeing me. Jake squeezed back. Always. But as he looked around the room at all the worried faces, Dr. Wong's confusion, Kethvar's concern, General Stone's calculating expression, Jake realized he had just agreed to something much bigger than treating one patient. He had agreed to change the way two different species thought about healing, trust, and what it meant to care for another person, and he had no idea if he was strong enough for what was coming. 2 weeks had passed since Jake became Zarathes's personal doctor. Every day he learned something new about her species and about her. The Crystal People, the Veltar, were warriors by nature. They were proud and strong and never showed weakness. But alone with Jake, Zarathes was different. She was curious about everything human. She asked him about Earth, about his family, about why he became a doctor. Jake told her about growing up on a farm in Texas, about his mother who taught him to be gentle with hurt animals, about the first soldier he had saved in combat. In return, Zarathes told him about her world. She described crystal cities that grew from the ground like trees, and battles against enemies that wanted to steal their planets. But Jake noticed she never talked about being happy or having friends. Do you have family? Jake asked one morning as he checked her healing wounds. Zarathes was quiet for a long time. I have a brother, Prince Torves. He will be king when I die. When you die? Jake stopped what he was doing. You're getting better. You're not going to die. All queens die, Zarathes said simply. It is expected. Jake did not like the way she said that. It sounded like she was giving up on herself. He had seen that look in soldiers who had been hurt too many times to believe they could get better. That afternoon, Dr. Ben Carter came to visit. He was a xenobiologist, which meant he studied alien life forms. He had been running tests on Zarathus's blood samples, and he looked worried. "Jake, we need to talk," Ben said quietly. Alone. They went to Ben's lab, leaving Zarathus reading a book about human history. She was learning to read English, faster than Jake had thought possible. "What did you find?" Jake asked. Ben pulled up images on his computer screen. They showed Zarathus's crystal structure at the microscopic level. Jake could see dark spots spreading through the crystal like cracks in ice. "It's not just battle damage," Ben said. "She has a disease, something that attacks the crystal matrix from the inside. I've never seen anything like it." Jake felt cold. "How bad is it?" "Without treatment, she has maybe 6 months to live. With traditional Veltar healing methods." Ben shook his head. "Maybe 3 months. Their aggressive techniques would speed up the disease. But with human methods?" "That's the strange part," Ben said. "Your gentle approach seems to be slowing the disease down. I don't understand how, but the progression has stopped completely since you started treating her." Jake stared at the images. "Does she know?" "I don't think so. Her own doctors never told her. They were probably too afraid to give their queen bad news." Jake thought about Zarathus, saying that all queens die. Maybe she did know, somewhere, deep down. Maybe that was why she had never expected to live long enough to be happy. "We have to tell her," Jake said. "Are you sure? In Veltar culture, discussing death with royalty is considered treason." "She trusts me," Jake said. "She deserves to know the truth." When Jake returned to Zarathus's room, she took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. "What is it?" she asked in English that was getting better every day. Jake sat down beside her bed. "Zarathus, you're sick. Really sick. Not just from the battle wounds." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I know. I have always known. The pain inside, it grows worse each year." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Queens do not complain about pain," she said. "We endure. We die with honor." Jake took her crystal hand in both of his. "What if you didn't have to die?" For the first time since he had known her, Zarathus looked angry. "Do not give me false hope, Jake Morrison. I have seen many healers. They all say the same thing. Fight the disease with pain, break what is broken, force new growth. It only makes me weaker." "But I'm not doing any of those things," Jake pointed out. "And you're getting stronger." Zarathus looked down at their joined hands. "You are different." "How? You touch me like I am made of flowers, not stone. You speak to me like I am your friend, not your queen." "When you are near, the pain sleeps," Jake squeezed her hand gently. "Maybe that's what you need. Not more pain, but less. Not more fighting, but more peace." "Peace!" Zarathus repeated the word like it was foreign to her. "Veltar do not have peace." Maybe it's time they learned. The next morning, Jake woke up to alarms blaring throughout the medical station. He ran to Zarathus's room and found her sitting up in bed, looking pale. "What's happening?" he asked. "My brother," she said. "Prince Torves is coming, with healers." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Coming here?" "Yes." Kethvar told him about my condition. "Torves thinks you are making me weak with your gentle methods." Through the window, Jake could see Veltar ships approaching the station. They were beautiful and terrible, made of the same crystal material as their crews, but shaped like weapons. General Stone's voice came over the communication system. "All medical personnel report to stations. We have incoming Veltar diplomatic vessels." Jake looked at Zarathus. "What will happen when they get here?" "They will take me home. They will break the damaged crystal and try to force new growth. I will die in great pain, as queens are supposed to do." She met his eyes. Unless. "What?" "Unless I refuse to go." Jake realized what she was asking. "Zarathus, I can't ask you to choose between your family and your health. You are not asking. I am choosing." She stood up, moving more easily than she had in weeks. "I choose to live. Jake Morrison, I choose to trust you." The docking bay doors opened, and Prince Torves entered with a group of Veltar healers. They wore dark robes and carried cases full of crystal-breaking tools. Torves himself was younger than Zarathes, but he moved with the same royal authority. He spoke rapidly to his sister in their clicking language. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the anger and worry in Torves's voice. Zarathes answered calmly, but firmly. The conversation went back and forth, getting more heated. Finally, Torves turned to Jake. "Human, you have poisoned my sister's mind with weakness. She refuses proper treatment." "I've given her hope," Jake said. "Maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's strength." One of the Veltar healers stepped forward. He was old and moved like he was in charge. "I am High Healer Vex Noth. This human's primitive methods are killing the Queen slowly. She needs immediate crystal replacement surgery." "No," Zarathes said in English so everyone could understand. "I will not go with you." The room fell silent. Prince Torves looked shocked. The healers looked angry. General Stone looked worried. But Jake looked at Zarathes and saw something he had never seen before. She was standing straight and tall, her crystal skin glowing with health. She looked like a queen who intended to live. "I choose Dr. Morrison," she announced. "I choose to heal with kindness instead of pain. I choose to see if peace can be stronger than war." High Healer Vexnoth made a disgusted sound. "Then you choose to die like a weak human instead of living like a strong Veltar." "Maybe," Zarathes said quietly. "It is time for the Veltar to learn that there are different kinds of strength." Jake realized that Zarathes was not just choosing her own treatment. She was choosing to change her entire civilization's idea of what healing meant, and that choice was about to start a war. The political situation got worse quickly. Prince Torves returned to the Veltar fleet, but he did not leave. The crystal ships stayed near the medical station like wolves waiting for weakness. Jake could see them through the windows, beautiful and threatening. Ambassador Helen Ross arrived from Earth 3 days later. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake had never met her, but he knew she was important in human government. "Dr. Morrison," she said when they met in General Stone's office, "you've created quite a problem." "I saved someone's life," Jake said. He was getting tired of people telling him he had done something wrong. "You've caused a diplomatic crisis. The Veltar High Council says Queen Zarathes has been corrupted by human influence. They're demanding we return her immediately for proper treatment." General Stone looked grim. "And if we refuse?" "They've threatened to leave the coalition. We'd lose our strongest military ally." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "So you want me to let her die to keep your alliance?" "I want you to think about the bigger picture," Helen said. "Millions of lives depend on coalition unity." "What about her life?" Before Helen could answer, alarms started blaring again. This time, they were not diplomatic alarms. They were attack warnings. Lieutenant Sam Murphy burst into the office. He was Jake's old partner from his combat medic days, now assigned to station security. "General, we've got Dominion Empire ships incoming. Looks like a full assault fleet." Jake's blood went cold. The Dominion Empire was the coalition's worst enemy. They had been fighting this war for 5 years, and the Dominion had never attacked a medical station before. "How did they know we were here?" General Stone asked. The answer came over the communication system in Prince Torves's voice. "Attention, coalition forces. The Dominion has offered to help us retrieve our corrupted queen. Stand down and surrender the human who has poisoned her mind." Jake stared at the speaker. "He made a deal with the enemy?" "Not him," Zarathes said from the doorway. She had been listening. "Others. Some of my people want me dead, Jake. If I die from the disease, my brother becomes king. If I die in battle, they become heroes who tried to save me." "But Torves wouldn't—" "My brother is young and angry and believes he is doing the right thing," Zarathes said sadly. "He does not know he is being used." The station shook as the first enemy weapons hit the shields. Jake could hear people running in the corridors outside. "We need to evacuate you," General Stone said to Zarathes. "No." She stood straighter. "I will not run while others fight because of me." "Your Majesty," Helen said, "if the Dominion captures you, they will not capture me." Zarathes looked at Jake. "But I need your help, not as a doctor this time, as a friend." Jake nodded without hesitation. "What do you need?" "I need you to perform surgery, here, now, while the battle happens. Jake stared at her. Surgery? What kind of surgery? Dr. Ben Carter spoke up from the back of the room. The crystal matrix around her heart is failing. It's been cracking slowly for months. If we can repair it properly, it might stop the disease. Completely. But the battle, Helen started. The battle is perfect, Zarathes said. If I survive the surgery, I live. If I die fighting, not wasting away. Either way, no one can say I was weak. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was waiting for his answer. Outside, explosions lit up the darkness as Coalition and Dominion ships fought among the crystal vessels of the Veltar fleet. I've never done surgery on a Veltar, Jake said. You have done surgery on me every day, Zarathes replied. Every gentle touch, every kind word, every moment you chose to heal instead of hurt. You have been repairing my heart since the day we met. Jake realized she was not talking just about the medical kind of heart. Where do we do this? He asked. Here, General Stone said. The medical bay is too exposed. We'll convert my office into an operating room. The next hour was chaos. While the battle raged outside, Jake and Ben Carter set up emergency surgical equipment in the general's office. Zarathes lay on a table that was too small for her, but she did not complain. Tell me about your farm, she said as Jake prepared the anesthesia. What? Jake was surprised by the question. Your farm on Earth. Tell me about it while you work. I want to think about peaceful things. So Jake told her about Texas sunsets and his mother's garden while he opened her crystal chest with tools designed for human surgery. He talked about horses and cattle and summer rain while he carefully removed damaged crystal from around her heart. The crystal heart itself was beautiful and terrible. It pulsed with blue light, but Jake could see the dark cracks spreading through, it like poison. Ben guided his hands with scanners and computers, but Jake worked by feel, the same way he had learned to treat wounded soldiers. The crystal is trying to heal itself, Ben said, watching the monitors. But it's growing in the wrong direction. Jake could see what Ben meant. New crystal was forming, but it was sharp and jagged, cutting into the healthy tissue around it. No wonder the traditional healing methods failed. They were trying to force growth that was already going the wrong way. What if we guide it instead of forcing it? Jake asked. He began using tiny tools to carefully shape the new crystal growth, directing it away from the delicate heart tissue. It was like gardening, he realized. You could not force a plant to grow, but you could help it grow in the right direction. Outside, the battle was getting closer. Jake could hear weapons fire hitting the station's outer hull, but he kept working, talking softly to Zarathes about blue skies and green fields while he repaired her crystal heart. Jake, Sam Murphy's voice came over the communicator. Dominion, boarding parties have breached Deck 7. They're heading for your location. How long do we have? Jake asked, not looking up from his work. Maybe 10 minutes. Jake's hands did not shake. He had learned long ago to work under pressure. Ben, hand me the micro-welder. Jake, maybe we should stop and evacuate. No. Zarathes's voice was weak, but determined. Finish it. Whatever happens, finish it. Jake worked faster, sealing the crystal repairs with precise bursts of energy. The dark cracks were gone, and the new growth was flowing in healthy directions. Zarathes's heart was glowing brighter blue than he had ever seen. It's working, Ben said, amazement in his voice. The crystal matrix is stabilizing. The disease progression has stopped completely. More than stopped, Jake said, watching the monitors. It's reversing. The door exploded inward. Dominion soldiers in black armor poured into the room. Weapons, ready. Behind them came Prince Torvis and High Healer Vexnoth. Step away from the Queen, the Dominion commander ordered. Jake did not move. He was still holding the surgical tools, still standing over Zarathes. I'm not done. You are done, human, Vexnoth said. The Queen will come with us for proper healing. Zarathes opened her silver eyes. She sat up on the table, moving easily for the first time since Jake had known her. The crystal around her heart glowed like a star, and the glow was spreading outward through her whole body. I am already healed, she said. And she was. Jake could see it in the way she moved, the way her crystal skin sparkled with health, the way her voice had grown strong and clear. The surgery had worked better than he had dared to hope. Impossible, Vexnoth said. Human medicine cannot cure crystal death. Human medicine did not cure me, Zarathus said, standing up to face her. Brother and the enemy soldiers. Human kindness did. Human gentleness. Human refusal to accept that pain is the only way to heal. She looked at Jake, and her smile was radiant. Thank you for teaching me that there is another way. The Dominion commander raised his weapon. Enough. Talk. You're coming with us. No, said a new voice from the doorway. She is not. Admiral Karen Foster stood there with a squad of Coalition Marines, but they were not alone. Behind them came Veltar warriors, not Prince Torves's forces, but others, older ones, wearing different markings. The Veltar Council of Elders has voted, one of the elder warriors announced. Prince Torves no longer speaks for our people. He has allied with our enemies and betrayed his sister. We choose Queen Zarathus and her human healer. The battle was over. The Dominion retreated. Prince Torves was taken into custody by his own people, and the medical station was safe. But Jake knew the real battle was just beginning. Zarathus had not just been healed. She had been transformed, and she was about to transform her entire civilization. 6 months later, Jake stood in a place he had never imagined he would see. He was in the Crystal Palace of the Veltar homeworld, looking out at a city that grew from the ground like a forest made of diamonds. The towers twisted and spiraled into the sky, catching sunlight and throwing rainbows across the crystal streets below. It's beautiful, he said to Zarathus, who stood beside him on the balcony. It is different now, she replied. Since you taught me about gentleness, everything looks different. Jake smiled. Zarathus's English was perfect now, but she still spoke with the careful precision of someone who had learned the language as an adult. Her crystal skin glowed with health, and the scars from her old wounds had healed into patterns that looked like silver lightning across her arms and chest. How are the new healing centers working? Jake asked. Better than I hoped, Zarathus said. Professor Diana Kim's research has helped us understand why human methods work so well with Veltar biology. It turns out our crystal matrix responds to emotional states. Stress and pain make it brittle. Peace and trust make it strong. Jake nodded. Diana was a brilliant researcher who had come to study the hybrid healing techniques they had developed. The combination of human intuition and Veltar technology was revolutionizing medicine throughout the Coalition. And the other species? 12. Different alien races have requested training in the new methods. The Andorian fever that killed thousands last year, cured with modified human techniques. The Xelon plague that their doctors said was impossible to treat. We stopped it in 2 weeks. Jake felt proud but also overwhelmed. I never thought treating one patient would lead to all this. You did not treat one patient, Zarathus said. You treated me like a person instead of a problem. That made all the difference. They walked back into the palace, through halls, lined with crystal sculptures that told the history of the Veltar people. But now, there were new sculptures too. Scenes of healing instead of battle, of different species working together instead of fighting alone. In the main hall, Jake found Captain Tony Rodriguez waiting for them. Tony was the head of security for the new medical training facility they had built on the space station. Jake, we've got a problem, Tony said. The Dominion Empire has been attacking our supply ships. They're trying to stop medical supplies from reaching the outer colonies. Jake frowned. They're attacking hospitals? Not directly. But if people can't get medicine, they die anyway. Same result. Zarathus's crystal skin darkened with anger. They cannot win through battle, so they try to win through cruelty. What do you want to do? Tony asked. Jake thought about all the patients they had helped over the past months. Veltar children whose crystal skin had been damaged in accidents. Human soldiers with injuries that old medicine could not heal. Alien refugees from worlds the Dominion had destroyed. We fight back, Jake said, but not the way they expect. What do you mean? Tony asked. We build mobile hospitals, ships that can carry medical teams to any world that needs help. Fast ships that can outrun Dominion attackers. We bring healing directly to the people who need it most. Zarathus smiled. A fleet of mercy ships? Exactly. 3 months later, the first mercy ship launched from the Crystal Palace shipyards. It was called the USS Hope, and it was unlike any ship in the galaxy. Built with both human engineering and Veltar crystal technology, it could travel faster than military ships and carry enough medical supplies to treat an entire planet. Jake stood on the bridge as Captain Lisa Barnes, his old commander from the USS Mercy, took them out of orbit. The crew was mixed: humans, Veltar, and members of 6 other species, all trained in the new healing methods. "First stop is the Kepler system," Lisa announced. "Dominion forces attacked the colony there last week. No military targets, just civilian settlements." Jake nodded grimly. "How many wounded?" "Thousands. And the local hospitals were destroyed in the attack." The Hope jumped to light speed, carrying its cargo of medical supplies and hope to people who had thought they were forgotten. When they arrived at Kepler, Jake saw devastation worse than any battlefield. Entire cities had been bombed, not to win territory, but just to cause suffering. The Dominion wanted to break the spirit of coalition worlds, but they had not counted on what would happen when people refused to stay broken. Jake worked for 18 hours straight, treating burn victims and trauma cases alongside Veltar healers who would have been his enemies a year ago. Dr. Patricia Wong was there too, using the new hybrid techniques she had once dismissed as primitive. "Dr. Morrison," she said during a brief break, "I owe you an apology. You were right about gentleness being strength." Jake smiled tiredly. "We were both right. Your technology and my bedside manner work better together than either one alone. Bye-bye." The end of the week, they had saved over 3,000 lives. But more importantly, they had shown the people of Kepler that they were not alone. The Coalition had not forgotten them. News of the Mercy ship spread quickly. Other worlds asked for help. More ships were built. Soon, there was a whole fleet of them carrying healing to every corner of the galaxy. The Dominion tried to stop them at first, but attacking hospital ships made them look like monsters even to their own people. And the Mercy ships were protected by something stronger than weapons. They were protected by the gratitude of every person they had helped. Jake found himself traveling from world to world, training new medics and treating patients no one else could help. But he always returned to the Crystal Palace, where Zarathes had built a medical school that accepted students from every species in the Coalition. "You look tired," she said one evening as they walked through the Crystal Gardens behind the palace. "Good tired," Jake replied. "The kind of tired you get from helping people." They sat by a fountain that sparkled in the light of 2 moons. The Bati di water was not water at all, but liquid crystal that flowed and sang like music. "Do you ever regret it?" Zarathes asked. "Choosing to save one alien queen instead of having a quiet life as a regular doctor?" Jake thought about it. His life was certainly not quiet anymore. He was famous throughout the galaxy as the human who had changed medicine forever. Governments called him for advice. Other species sent their best healers to learn from him, but when he thought about regrets, all he could remember was the look in Zarathes's silver eyes when she had trusted him to save her life. "No," he said. "No regrets." Zarathes smiled and took his hand. Her crystal fingers were warm, as always. "Good, because I have something to tell you." "What?" "The Coalition Council has voted. They want to make you the first director of interspecies medicine. You would oversee all medical cooperation between different species." Jake blinked. "That sounds like a very important job." "It is. You would have to work with leaders from dozens of worlds, make decisions that affect millions of lives, travel constantly." Jake squeezed her hand. "Would you come with me, as my advisor?" "I thought you would never ask," Zarathes said, laughing. "Of course I will come. We are partners now, Jake Morrison, in healing, in hope, and in showing the galaxy that kindness is the strongest force in the universe." They sat by the singing fountain as the moons rose over the Crystal City, planning their next mission to heal a galaxy that had almost forgotten how to trust. Jake had started as a simple combat medic who just wanted to help wounded soldiers. Now he was helping to heal the wounds between entire civilizations, and it had all begun with one choice: to treat an injured alien not as an enemy or a curiosity, but as a person who needed help. In the distance, he could see the lights of the Mercy ships preparing for their next missions. Soon, they would carry healing to worlds that had never known peace, hope to people who had given up, and proof that sometimes the most powerful weapon against hate was a gentle touch and a kind word. the human medic and the Crystal Queen had become, something neither of their species had imagined possible, proof that different peoples could not just coexist, but could make each other stronger, and in a galaxy torn by war, that was the most revolutionary idea of all. Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as another explosion shook the medical ship. The lights flickered, and he grabbed the metal table to keep from falling. Outside the small window, he could see bright flashes of laser fire lighting up the darkness of space. "Dr. Morrison, we need you in Bay 3, Captain Lisa Barnes shouted over the noise. Her voice was tight with worry. Jake grabbed his medical kit and ran down the narrow hallway. The USS Mercy was not built for war. It was a hospital ship, meant to help wounded soldiers after battles were over. But today, the battle had come to them. The ship shook again, harder this time. Jake heard metal groaning and hoped the hull would hold. He had been a combat medic for 8 years, but space battles still made him nervous. On the ground, he could dig a hole or find cover behind rocks. In space, there was nowhere to hide. He reached Bay 3 just as something crashed through the outer wall. Emergency shields snapped into place, keeping the air inside, but Jake could see a small escape pod had punched through their ship like a bullet through paper. "Stay back," Alex Rivera yelled. The Coalition officer had his weapon ready. "We don't know what's inside that thing," steam hissed from the damaged pod. Jake could hear a faint tapping sound from inside, like someone knocking weakly on metal. His medical training kicked in, pushing away his fear. "Someone's alive in there," Jake said. He moved toward the pod, ignoring Alex's protests. "They need help." The pod's door was cracked and bent. Jake could see blue light leaking out through the gaps. It was not normal light. It moved and flowed like liquid. He had never seen anything like it. Jake found a metal bar and wedged it into the crack. The door groaned and opened wider. More blue light spilled out, and with it came a smell like flowers mixed with metal. Jake peered inside and gasped. The creature inside was like nothing he had ever seen. It looked almost human in shape, but its skin was made of what looked like crystal. The crystal was cracked in many places, and bright blue fluid was leaking out. The creature's breathing was shallow and fast. "It's hurt," Jake said. He climbed into the pod, his medical kit in hand. "Really hurt." The creature's eyes opened. They were large and silver like mirrors. When they focused on Jake, he felt a strange calmness wash over him. The creature tried to speak, but only strange clicking sounds came out. "Easy," Jake said softly. He had used this voice with scared soldiers many times. "I'm here to help." Jake examined the wounds carefully. The crystal skin was cracked like broken glass. The blue fluid was definitely blood, but it glowed with its own light. Where the cracks were deepest, he could see something that looked like normal flesh underneath the crystal shell. He had no idea how to treat an alien, but wounds were wounds. The first rule was always the same: stop the bleeding. Jake opened his kit and pulled out a special foam that expanded to seal cuts. He had used it on human soldiers hundreds of times. He hoped it would work on crystal skin, too. As he worked, more Coalition soldiers arrived. They pointed their weapons at the creature, shouting orders Jake could not hear over the sound of his own heartbeat. All he could focus on was the gentle rise and fall of the creature's chest and the trust he saw in those silver eyes. The foam worked. The blue light stopped leaking out of the worst cracks. Jake wrapped soft bandages around the crystal limbs, being careful not to press too hard. His hands were steady, even though his mind was racing with questions. "Who are you?" he whispered to the creature. "What happened to you?" The creature watched his every move. When Jake's hand accidentally brushed against an uninjured part of crystal skin, the creature made a soft sound. Not pain, but something else. Surprise, maybe. Captain Barnes climbed into the pod behind Jake. "The battle's over," she said. "We won, barely. Coalition ships are coming to take this person to their medical station." The creature's silver eyes went wide with what looked like fear. It tried to sit up, making those clicking sounds again, louder and more urgent. "It's okay," Jake said, gently pushing the creature back down. "No one's going to hurt you." Coalition medical officers arrived with a floating stretcher. They wore full armor and moved like robots, efficient but cold. Jake had worked with them before and knew they were good at their jobs, but they treated alien patients like interesting puzzles instead of living beings. As they moved to lift the creature onto the stretcher, it grabbed Jake's wrist with surprising strength. The crystal fingers were warm, not cold like he had expected. The creature looked right into his eyes and spoke a single word in perfect English: him. Then it pointed at Jake and repeated the word, looking at the Coalition officers. "Him." "I think it wants you to come along," Captain Barnes said, looking puzzled. Jake looked down at the creature. No, he realized, at her. Something about those silver eyes seemed feminine to him. She was still holding his wrist, and he could feel her pulse through the crystal skin. It was fast and scared, like a bird's heartbeat. "I'll come with you," Jake told her. "I'll make sure you're okay." For the first time since he had found her, the creature's face relaxed. She let go of his wrist but kept watching him as the Coalition officers loaded her onto the stretcher. As they moved through the damaged corridors of the Mercy, Jake wondered what he had gotten himself into. He was just a combat medic from Earth. He fixed broken bones and treated laser burns. He knew nothing about alien medicine or crystal skin or glowing blue blood, but he knew about fear and pain and trust. And he knew that the creature, she, had chosen him for a reason he did not yet understand. The Coalition transport ship was waiting, its medical bay gleaming with advanced equipment that made Jake's simple tools look like toys from the Stone Age. But as they transferred his patient to the alien medical bed, she reached for his hand again. Jake took her crystal fingers in his and squeezed gently. "I'm here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." Outside, the stars wheeled slowly past the transport's windows. Jake did not know it yet, but his life had just changed forever. The creature he had saved was not just any alien. She was Queen Zarathes of the Veltar Empire, and she had just made a choice that would shake two civilizations. But for now, Jake just sat beside her medical bed, watching the blue glow of her blood slowly fade to a healthier silver as his simple human medicine did what the most advanced alien technology could not. It gave her hope.